Good afternoon. First of all, thank you to our principal, Paul Leisel, for making himself available today to introduce the day and welcome you all. And thank you for taking the time to come over here and participate on our Awareness Day at Royal Holloway. As Professor Leisel mentioned, this is the second time we ran this event at college, and I just want to do a fairly quick overview of the day, why we do this, why is there a rare disease day, what type of research we do in the college which makes this relevant to us, and what we did a little bit last year, what we have done this year, building on that, and the lectures that you are going to hear after me. So why is there a need for a rare disease day? Essentially, in Europe, there is an official, a formal definition of what a rare disease is. And it's a disease that affects fewer than 1 in 2,000 people. And that may or may not seem very much. The most commonly known, probably, rare disease, cystic fibrosis, very common in Caucasian people, is borderline for that, perhaps 1 in 1,600, 1 in 2,000. So most of the rare diseases are much less frequent than that. The rarest rare disease known, as far as I know, affects 1 known patient. So that's the kind of range that you can see. 1 patient worldwide to perhaps 1 in 2,000, 1 in 1,600 people. So each of them is very rare. But what happens is that there are 6,000 to 8,000 of them. Loads of them. So if you take them all together, they affect around about 6% of people. And in a Western society like us, in Europe, they take about 20% of the health budget. But even though that is massively important, many of us wouldn't actually be able to name several of them, just a handful of them. And I must be honest, some of the ones that you have seen in the exhibition today, I hadn't heard of before until they contacted us telling us that they wanted to participate in our exhibition. So that's the problem that is faced. So Rare Disease Day, essentially the critical thing is to raise awareness of all these really important problems affecting really a lot of people. So when you say 1 in 2,000, what does that mean when you take the overall figure? Well, 6% of people means that probably someone on your road, someone in your child's classroom, someone at work will be affected by one of those diseases. In the course of my involvement with organizing Rare Disease Day, I have met several people in college who are affected from rare diseases that I obviously didn't know about. Sometimes you notice, sometimes you can't tell, but those are there. And they are a major issue. And those people need lots of support, and the main goal of the day is to raise awareness for that. And why here? Why are we particularly keen to have a Rare Disease Day at Royal Holloway? Well, most rare diseases, about 80%, are genetic in origin. So they are passed on in families, and many of those could be treated by using genes as medicines, genetic medicine, genetic therapy. And that is one of our strengths at Holloway. We are very strong in this field of regenerative medicine, gene therapy with the combined stem cell therapy, which all in all really is a single field. You can think of gene therapy and stem cell therapy as a combined field of regenerative medicine. So that is one of our strengths. So from our point of view, what we do here, what we want to showcase is our research and our teaching in support of this very important social issue, which is rare disease. So just to introduce you, 2 of the main diseases that we work on at Royal Holloway are Duchenne muscular dystrophy and spinal muscular atrophy, both of them potentially very severe diseases, life-threatening. Children with the most severe forms of spinal muscular atrophy do not last longer than 2 years. People with muscular dystrophy and also with spinal muscular atrophy, but less severe, can certainly go into adulthood, but as you can see, with severe problems. So these are 2 of the diseases in which we are strong, and Professor Dixon will give you a lecture later on specifically on genetic therapies for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So just as a reminder, genes essentially make proteins. We have this picture, sorry, you can not see that in this lighting, is a traditional karyotype type picture. If you blow up a chromosome, it'll contain probably thousands of genes, and one of them with a mutation will mean that a particular protein either is made in the wrong form or is not made at all. We are supposed to have about 30,000 genes at last count, so it's a bit mind-boggling, the fact that 1 out of 30,000 genes can make you extremely sick, or actually means that you may die early on. And that's all there is. That's the problem that is being faced here. So is there hope? Well, actually, there is. There are many things that are happening simultaneously. Some of them are social, some of them are research in the lab. So last year, an international rare disease research consortium was set up, backed by the European Union, the United States, and Canada. And that consortium declared goals of, by 2020, developing diagnostics for most rare diseases and treating 200 of them. That is actually quite a tall order, but it is a very important thing. Because for many people with rare diseases, actually being diagnosed is a massive hurdle, something that they can take 5 years until they actually are properly diagnosed. It's a very big issue. This realization is also coming to the UK, to the clinicians, the people who are actually going to see the patients in the first place. And finally, this year, the Royal College of General Practitioners has acknowledged that rare diseases with a focus on motor neuron disease are a clinical priority. So they will develop a specific program over the next 3 years to deal with this. And in terms of therapy, as well as small molecule therapies or protein therapies that are available out there for some of them, gene therapy is also scoring some significant successes lately. And again, you will hear from Professor Dixon regarding ongoing work on Duchenne muscular dystrophy here. So the answer of, is there hope? Yes, certainly. And for many people affected by these diseases, hope is a critical thing. That it really is very important. So going one step beyond of what is now working in the clinic, what gene therapy has been doing and is actually currently doing is a relatively dirty job in the sense of it's not very much under control. But in the lab, now the tools are being developed that allow us to specifically correct the specific mutations. So now we can go, and if there is a mutation, we can go and correct that to the normal version. We call this gene repair or genome surgery. And in the lab, it can be done. So gene therapy is evolving from just introducing a normal copy of the gene and ignoring completely what is already in the genome to actually repairing effectively and specifically what is in the genome. And again, that specificity is a major advantage. On Rare Disease Day, I'm just showing you some snapshots of what went on. We built on our research expertise, on the strength of our volunteers, and we brought in a number of people to raise awareness of their specific diseases, raise hope, critical thing, some people affected by those diseases. So on the strength and the interest of our event last year, we decided to host a second one this year, and you will have been participating in many of the activities that we have developed. So to round up that day, what we have is a few presentations here. I've already introduced Professor Dixon, who will talk to you about Duchenne muscular dystrophy. After that, Diana Ribeiro from Action Duchenne will give you the perspective from families. So what it is like for the patient, for the family, to be affected by one of these diseases. After that, Dr. Austin, coming down from Glasgow, will give you a fun presentation with a serious background to it on rare diseases. And finally, we are delighted and honored to have Helene Rainsford giving you the keynote speech for the day. She is a student, a postgraduate student at Holloway, and she will tell you of her personal experience. We will have a question and answer session for the last 15 minutes, so please do think of questions that you want to ask any of the speakers, and we will be available here for the last 15 minutes to round up the session. Finally, I just want to acknowledge and thank our funders. Running a day like this is not cheap, and we have had funding coming from ARC Therapeutics, from the alumni fund in college. You will have noticed our volunteers taking part on enterprising activities around campus, and later on, after 3 p.m. when this public day is over, there will be a targeted bioenterprise event for them, because obviously being the stewards for the day, they are not able to attend that many of the activities happening. And because of those enterprising activities, we can actually seek some external funding to support the day. And obviously, we have all the core support from Royal Holloway, which is critical for us. And just a final reminder, you'll be familiar with Chinese fortune cookies, and sometimes they can actually tell you what is the simple truth, but we tend to forget. The first wealth is health. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your attention, and I'll pass on to Professor Dixon for the first presentation.